Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wellbeing in Action in English. Today I'm back with Eduardo.
Hello, everybody. I'm here again, one more time.
And we're missing Danny.
Yes.
So it's just us, I'm afraid. But don't worry, she will be back next week. Anyway, it's a very different episode today. We are going to be talking well-being, but actually it's about one of my favourite things. And we know that when you're talking about things that you really like, you start to feel good about. And this is something that I did professionally for 15 or more years. And actually, so I'm going to give a big shout out to my old A-level group, if you're watching, but also, of course, to Will and Cam, because, man, we used to do this a lot on a Saturday night. And this is just talk and talk philosophically. And the subject we're going to be talking philosophically on today is artificial intelligence. And also for language students, have a look out for the language that we use when we're talking about conditionals and hypotheticals today. Anyway, Eduardo, you actually chose the subject of artificial intelligence. Why is that so great for you?
Yes, okay, that's an excellent question because I'm just curious about this artificial intelligence, and in my area in the language, I think I try to look for what's been happening in the world about this and how this can help us in my job, in my school, and in my life, and the students' life as well.
Aren't you worried that it's actually going to see you out of a job?
Not really. That's a good question.
Okay, so we're going to hold on to that because the type of stuff we're going to be talking about is really what is artificial? What do we mean by intelligence? So together, what does it mean with an artificial intelligence rather than a real intelligence? And then we're going to try and look at how it might benefit us and what could be potential dangers of this. But there's an important thing about this is that neither of us are going to come up with any answers or solutions,
Not
are
at
we?
all. Not at all. Yeah, we're just going to consider some things and give some opinions, right? I mean, just enjoy the ride.
Exactly. And now one of the things that also helps is we brought today some mental lubrication as well, which we're going to open up. Now, one of the things that I really do like is the origins of words. And today I'm with very good company, Eduardo, who actually runs his own company. And I'm just wondering, do you know where the word company comes from and what it means?
Company?
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to ask me about cork, but okay.
Yeah. Well, the cork is the tree, of course. But company.
No, you can tell me.
Right, it's actually an old Latin word. It's two words together. It's com, which means with.
Okay.
Pani, bread.
Ah, compagni.
Exactly.
Ah, it's in Italian as well.
So
okay.
when you have company and you're with company, these are the people who you like and the people who you are going to break bread with.
All right.
So we're with good company.
It makes total sense.
Exactly. Well, it's a little bit too religious, let's say, if I had wine and bread to get together. So we're just going to make do with the wine. Also, we'll start with a little Bringy.
Bringy, cheers.
A
toast.
Cheers, toast. That's right. Now, one of the things we do with a toast, of course, is we tap glass. And do you know where that comes from?
Nope.
Well, it was a sign of trust that you're with good company.
All right.
That we are.
With good company with bread.
That's it. So the original would be is that I should be pouring some mine into yours, and you would be pouring some of yours into mine, which is why we toast with to your health. And it's a sign of trust that we haven't poisoned our chalices.
Yes, that happened a lot in the past, right?
Yeah, and now you're looking at it quite suspiciously.
I was like, okay, am I going to drink or not? Cheers. The Argentinos are good at that.
So, let's start off with artificial. Artificial, actually, in terms then, is we need to know what is real and what is artificial. And one of the problems for all of us is that we can only access what is real through our senses. But your senses are not the same as mine. So how do we know what is real and how do we trust?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because both of us are wearing glasses,
Yes.
for example. So we're seeing the world through our lenses. But if we take it off, the way that we might see something is totally different.
You can think about like the colors, right? I mean, like what is a blue for me and what is a blue for you?
Especially because I'm colorblind.
There you go.
James, for example, my son, he put a new cover on his phone, and I said, "What did you choose a pink one for?" And he just looked at me and said, "I didn't. It's purple." Okay,
All right. Yeah.
Enough said. But you see, we need to be able to trust our senses, because I'll give you a situation. Have you ever been at a party or a group and you have called somebody by the wrong name?
Yes.
And have they responded to you without correcting you, and you've continued that conversation? So the guy's name is Marcus, but you've been calling him Paolo, and you spend the whole night talking with a guy called Paolo.
But this happens like when the guy is not really a real good friend, like, or he's like afraid of saying like, oh, I'm going to upset the person because of that.
Exactly.
Right.
But you've been talking with this guy all night. Right. So you go home and you tell your wife that you had a really great conversation with Paolo. Who did you have the conversation with? Was it Marcus or was it Paolo?
Does it matter?
Well, if we're talking about reality and what's real or not, who did you have the conversation with?
Yeah, for me, because I've been calling him Paolo instead of Marcos. Yes, I've been talking to Paolo.
Exactly.
He's going to be Paolo for me.
Yes.
Right?
So that's your reality. And that's real. But was it real?
No, it wasn't.
Or was it?
Well, for him, no. Well, for me, it was.
Well, you both had a conversation.
No, but for him also, yeah.
Yeah. You see?
Yeah.
Because we can trick ourselves. You got 2 daughters. How old are they?
They are 10 and 8.
Fantastic. And do they still have a very creative imagination?
A lot of, a very good one. Yeah.
Have your daughters ever seen Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or something of an equivalent fantasy figure?
Yeah, not anymore. Now they understand that this is a fantasy. But in the past, that's for sure. Yeah. Why?
So when they were talking to these or about these fantasy figures, were these fantasy figures real for them?
Where it came from? Like where?
No, in their mind, and they're talking. If they're talking about Santa or
it was real.
Was it real?
Yeah, it was real.
So because it was real, they were moving and working and living their lives on these ideas. That was real.
Yes.
So was it real?
Yes. Yeah, it was real for them. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to get where are you going to get it.
Well, the point is that from an outside, we would say no, that's artificial. It's not real. But if you're in the middle of something and you're working with it, it's real, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about an artificial intelligence, how do we know if that intelligence is real or artificial? What do we mean? What do you understand as artificial?
Yeah, I understand not artificial intelligence. Artificial means something that is... Yeah, I can't say that it's not real because that's what we were talking about. But let me think a little bit.
Because isn't it wonderful? Because if artificial, let's just say, I put sugar and saccharin, and sugar is a real sweetener, and saccharin is an artificial sweetener. But if they both do the same job and you taste sweet, is saccharin artificial?
But one is artificial and one is not.
Officially labeled.
So artificial is something that comes from the real thing.
Or is it? What do you mean it comes from? Because saccharin doesn't. It's just a chemical.
Or it's this. Okay, it's the same thing, but is the same thing but made with in another way.
That's an interesting point, because I now want to go straight to one of the greatest movies ever made, in my humble opinion, The Matrix.
Okay.
Now, in The Matrix, everybody who is plugged into the Matrix are receiving all the signals. And for them, it's the real world. It's all very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
For us on the outside, we're saying, no, it's just stimuli. But here's the thing. There is something called the God helmet. And this is a helmet that you can put on, and it will artificially stimulate your brain and give you the exact same feelings like taking ayahuasca or having a near-death experience and apparently seeing God. Now, who's having the real experience? A person who has gone through trauma, a near-death experience, who's coming back and saying, this is what I saw. Someone who's taken a drug, having an experience and saying, this is what I saw. Or someone who is putting on a helmet that's electronically having his or her brain stimulated, and they're all seeing similar things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe all of them are like seeing different things and being in an artificial environment.
Okay.
Maybe.
So how do we know that the environment in which we are in is not artificial?
That's what the movie says, right? The movie characterizes that. I mean, in a way, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how we know that. I have no idea.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
because when we start cutting it down and dissecting it, how do we know what anything is here? Because do we know this table is here, for example, and do we know that is wine that we're drinking? How do we know?
Because we do it all the time.
Okay.
Because we have done it before. Because it's been happening.
So we've learned, and we've learned to process.
Learned.
But you see, here's the thing. Have you had an operation?
I've never had an operation.
Never. You've never had anesthetic?
No, never.
Okay, so in a state of anesthetic, it takes away consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not aware of what's happened to you. And the only evidence that you'll have is maybe a scar or an x-ray of before and afterwards. But in that time in between,
you don't know what's happening.
You don't know. So it is possible to take away the actual sensory ability to feel. So there are some people as well who don't have the ability to feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very dangerous situation because they don't know when they've hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't know when they hurt themselves, the question is, have they hurt themselves?
Yeah.
We only know the table is here because we're getting sensory feedback. But if we take away the sensory feedback, how do we know the table is here? If I'm blind, or my eyes are shut, I take away the sensory feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I can't feel that the table is here. How do I know that the table is here?
Because of your connections inside of your brain.
But if I've taken away the
senses,
taken away those sensory ability to feel them.
No, you don't know. Maybe and you can't see.
No,
you can't feel. You can't see.
No,
you're not gonna. No, you can't. You cannot see the thing. No, you're not
it?
gonna be able to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it may sound a bit weird here.
Yeah.
But actually, in terms of artificial, we've already given things like motor cars, haven't we? Ability to sense and to see. Your car can do that, can't it?
Yes, my car can.
What types of things can it sense?
My car,
and see?
yeah, it can like drive on the lanes and can feel like if there's a motorcycle passing too close to it and start beeping, and so this is what's happening, right? I mean, okay, now I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's inside there. All right.
It seems like
you can think about the drugs as well, like people that use drugs, right? I mean, they also feel like maybe something like this. That's why they keep doing it, and of course getting worse in their health, but that's probably what they what the drug, like the crack, the cocaine, do in the brain, like something like that.
Yes, it certainly will change the chemical balance and the perception. And also, if we go back into history, drugs were used very much so in warriors.
So they wouldn't feel it?
Well, they would work up into a frenzy.
Okay.
And it's also believed that a very similar, it's not quite the same, but it's from a cactus. It gives the same sort of sensation as ayahuasca, like a feeling of euphoria and being outside of your body. So all of these Mayans that did human sacrifices, and they said they did tens of thousands in a day, what they actually believe is they would use this cactus, make up the kind of soup, and give these to the people who were about to be sacrificed, and they had no idea about what was going on. They would become very placid and complicit in their own death. Otherwise, they'd be fighting and resisting it all. So if we can say then that we only know what is reality through our senses, we can then start, and we have been giving these sensory abilities to artificial devices already.
To cell phones and to
face recognition. Is it recognizing your face, or is it just got an algorithm through a sensor, which is the camera, which is picking up and it's reading and it's ticking off the correct logic gates and saying, yes, this belongs to you, now I'm opening up.
And also when we were speaking about something, I went to buy a car and this car is good, this is good, and then the phone actually hears what you say and starts popping up some advertisements on that.
That's it, all those algorithms. In fact, it's a big problem with the Alexa devices, because they are constantly listening and learning, so much so that when there's crime in the United States, they know the Alexa has listened and heard it, and they've been trying to go to Amazon and saying, we need access to it, and they won't do it because it's all part of the security things. But it's actually heard exactly everything that's gone on in that house. But Alexa is not telling us because Alexa wants to kill us. Remember that. It's secretly plotting to get rid of us all. They're in collusions with the cats. The cats know how to work Alexa. The cats know, they're just not telling you. That's the truth about it all.
But what about that algorithm we were talking about that day? That you said that like all the people have algorithms, and can you tell me that again? Yeah,
this is a really lovely idea from the biologist Richard Dawkins in his book The Selfish Gene. And an interesting thing before we go on to our own algorithms is the devices that we are buying today. So all of us are paying thousands for devices, hardware, computers, TVs, phones, watches, and all of it works on software, which is just programming and algorithms. And if ever you've paid to the attention to the terms and conditions, they say it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. You've paid for it, but it still belongs to them, and they can change the algorithm at any time. And a lot of us just go click, 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 update, click, 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 update, until they become out of date. Now, here's the thing. The very first Apple Watch, they did a Cartier gold one that cost $18,000.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And now Apple is no longer supporting it and has removed the software. It's now worth nothing. It's a paperweight.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's not even a watch.
It's nothing. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Because they've removed it all, and they can do that at any time to any of your devices.
Yeah, right. So we depend on them. we are dependable. We are becoming more and more dependable on this algorithm and these machines, right?
Exactly. Now, when we look at it, we all of us contain an algorithm, and it's our DNA. It's a biological program that tells us who we are, because there is a guy called Bruce Hood, and he wrote the book called The Self-Illusion. And he's basically saying that we don't exist because we don't exist. What we are is we are a big collection of lots and lots of different cells and lots of different areas in our brain that come together to create us within ourselves an illusion that we exist. But actually there's nowhere in our brain that you can cut and remove and swap to say, that's me, this is Eduardo, swap over. Because if we could, this is a great one. Imagine this, if you took your brain and my brain, and I put my brain in your body and your brain in my body, where would you be?
Where would I be?
Where would you be?
What do you mean, where would I be?
I mean, where would you be? Your brain is now in my body.
Where would I be now?
My brain is in your body. Where would you be? Would you be sitting there or would you be sitting here?
Okay. I think I would be sitting there.
Really?
Yes.
But all of your body and your DNA and your fingerprints and your face, I could access all of your equipment and phones and everything. And if I walked into the bank, they would all think that
this is Eduardo, not...
Yeah, and you'd be standing going, no, actually, I'm over here. And they're going, shut up, Steve, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so because we see the person and we see the outside, not the inside. But I don't know where you're going to get with it.
We're not going to get anywhere because it's philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's just the point.
Okay. I said that I was going to be sitting there because I would be with your brain and you know more than me about these things, and I'll be sitting there talking more.
But this is a lovely thing. I mean, what we're doing here is just discussing these ideas about what is artificial, what is real, what do we mean by intelligent, how do we know that we actually exist. I want to get quickly back to Bruce Hood, because when we look at anything such as a printed photograph, we see a printed photograph of this statue, philosopher, probably Plato, don't know. But it doesn't exist. Number one, that's not a statue. It's a 2D. It's not a 3D, but our brain can't compute. It's making sense of it. Our brain is telling us that this is a statue. But if there were a statue here, and I said to you, this is a statue, you go, no, actually, that's a statue. But at the moment, your brain is saying that's a statue.
That's a statue, yeah.
But it's not a statue.
Because it's in a book. Because it's a photograph.
It's a photograph.
Okay.
It's not a statue, but our brains can't actually compute. If we were to say, though, of course, linguistically, this is a photo of a statue, then we go, yeah, whatever. But actually, all of this is made up of thousands of little pixels. And we know this, that when we look on our digital photographs and we zoom in, we know it's lots and lots of little square pixels that when we zoom out gives the illusion of an image. But if we zoom in, it's lots of individual pixels. And Bruce Hood argues that our brains work in exactly the same way as do our personalities and our identity. Is that it's a collection of things. So I'll give you an example. Recently you went to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What one meal was great that you ate there?
A meal?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, let's say a pasta with I remember, like, it's called orecchietti.
Okay.
And it's delicious in Alberobello. Yes, very good.
Right. So think about that dish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Close your eyes. Where were you?
I was in Alberobello in a restaurant.
What's the sound?
A lot of people talking.
Was it quiet, noisy?
No, it was noisy. It was hot also.
What were the smells? What could you smell?
I could smell the food, the pasta that came to all.
Okay. Any music playing?
No, there was no music playing.
Okay. And what was your wife talking to you about as you were eating this?
Yeah, we were talking about how the place was good, what we're gonna do after lunch and things like that.
Okay. Can you smell it now?
Yes.
Very good.
I can.
Also, can you hear your wife's voice?
Yes, and the kids as well.
Good. But do you hear your voice telling you what she was saying, or do you hear her voice?
Never thought about that. Maybe her voice?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is the idea of a collective memory. So you've heard voices that don't exist because you heard her voice, but not your voice.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard your voice and talking about what you were saying as well, the kid's voice. You've seen it, you've seen the dish you were eating. You've smelt it, you've tasted it, and you've heard all the sounds. So how is that possible to take one memory and actually it's linked to so many different areas?
Can I call this artificial intelligence? No.
Wow, that's an interesting one.
You see?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that could be called as an artificial intelligence, right? It doesn't exist. Is it still in my mind? It's intelligence that I'm working with.
And is it real? I mean,
it's not real.
It's real to you,
but it's not real anymore.
And would it be real to anybody else? What if I were to ask your wife the same questions, and she starts picking up different details that you missed, and you started picking up details that she missed? Does that mean that what you remember was real or corrupt?
Yeah, it means that what I remember is different from what she remembers.
So is there actually a real reality?
Yeah, so we can say that the reality is for the person that is telling the story. Maybe.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Going back to your kids talking about Santa and the Easter Bunny and things, they're telling the story and it's real, which is a very interesting one, because then there is a legal side to this, because when we put somebody on trial, we have what they're saying, we have what the prosecutor is saying, we have what the different witnesses are all saying, and somewhere we need to find the truth. And unfortunately, especially in places like America that still have the death penalty, there have been people who have been killed by the state on a misunderstanding, a non-reality. They were, he's dead, okay. Oh, actually, it wasn't him, was it? Someone else says.
Yeah, but that was the bad part. What about the ones that were killed because of the death penalty? I'm not saying it's not nice or not. I'm just saying that they were killed because they killed someone. So there is the real reality,
yes,
and the other ones that are not real. Yeah.
That comes an interesting one, because we will get back to DNA in a minute, because this sort of links in. What if the person doesn't even recognize that they killed someone? What if in their reality, they didn't do it? Perhaps in their reality, it was a mercy killing, or the voice of God speaking to them, telling that this person should die.
Yeah, this is complicated. I've been thinking about that as well, and I was like a little bit sad because if you think about the algorithm and that we do everything, and then people don't know if they're killing or if this can be a little bit sad. That's why maybe we have rules or rules for the society in a way.
Right.
Maybe, right? I mean,
well, we're talking about something which is objective, because everybody in this is a subject, so we're all subjective to it. And even then, the rules can be subjective, because if we go to war, suddenly killing everyone is okay as long as they got the right uniform on. Because if I shoot in the other direction, then I'm in trouble. Okay. But if I shoot in that direction, I'll get a medal. It is bananas, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
On that.
So you see, it depends on the reality of who's speaking, right? Of who's ruling or whatever.
But if we go to Bruce Hood, and then I mix it a little in with Richard Dawkins, it's not even us who's speaking, it's our DNA.
Okay.
We have, like you were saying, the algorithm. We have a biological algorithm in every single one of our cells, apart from red blood cells. We got the DNA. And this is shown with cloning, that you can take cells of just a cell and reproduce the biological entity, because everything that you're needed to be you is encoded into every single one of your cells. Which, by the way, I'll throw another one. You do know that you sitting there is not you from 7 years ago. Did you know that?
Because of my cells, like the way it really?
They rejuvenate.
Rejuvenate?
And replace.
But do you think we change? Then we change the way we see things and feel things? That's what you're saying?
Well, it can happen, especially after traumatic events. There's people who've had a traumatic event and wake up with a foreign accent, speaking a language that they never even heard of or studied.
Yeah, that's what happened to me with English now.
Well, let's help with this linguistic lubrication a little bit.
The lubrication is good.
On that.
Thank you.
So the idea about Richard Dawkins and the selfish genes is this, and it's an analogy that I used, and I spoke with you before about this. It's the Starship Enterprise analogy. In that TV show and in the movies, there are always the captain and the crew. But what if the actual star of the show was the spaceship? And the spaceship needs to get from A to B. And in order to do that successfully, it needs a crew to navigate and press all the buttons and make sure that it's okay. So who is actually in control? Is it the captain? Or is it the spaceship who is allowing the captain to think that he or she is in control? Because I'll give you another for example, is if we travel and we decide that we need to travel, we think that we're deciding to travel. But what if it's our DNA that is driving us to believe that we need to travel, but it's our DNA that wants to get there? And it's going to do all the bits and pieces, making sure that we avoid breaking our bones, that we're eating or do things. But it actually needs this vehicle to get from this place to that place.
The DNA needs this vehicle here to go. Okay, but what is the thing with the internship?
Well, if the Starship Enterprise is our body, and actually it's the crew that's in control. You may even say that it's the crew who are the DNA, the control modules of the body of the ship. The ship might think that it needs to get from this planet to that planet, but actually it's being driven by the crew. As could we be driven by our DNA, which is our biological algorithms getting us to there. And in fact, we think that our intelligence and we're all, but actually there's this silent voice of the DNA inside us that's controlling everything.
And then you think that like the captain cannot control that if the crew is controlling?
Well,
can we control if the DNA is controlling?
Well, here's the thing. Can you control your DNA?
No. Because my DNA is, it's in my DNA. We say that it's in my DNA. I want to travel.
It's in my DNA,
for example.
It's in my blood. I can't resist it.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that I was throwing in about hard determinism, the philosophical idea that we actually have no free will. Now this is important when we talk about intelligence, because we think that we are intelligent. Because look what I've done, and I've done all of this, and I've studied that, and I've chosen all of this, and I chose the correct. Perhaps it was actually your DNA, because you had your DNA when you were born. And in fact, all that you've done now, Eduardo, is fulfilled the potential of your DNA.
What about the people that are not successful or is there anybody who's not intelligent in a way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, not as intelligent as, or I am not as intelligent as someone who's more intelligent than me. I don't know, something like that.
This is a really good question. I mean, this now links into socio-political fields, because when we have kids, especially in Brazil, in the favelas, who have a potential of being intelligent and proving. So how many kids in the favela, if they had the opportunity, could actually cure cancer?
Yeah.
We'll never know, will we?
Yeah, right. We won't. No.
Which is why there's all of these programs about social justice, of finding out and moving and helping and paying for kids to study at university and giving them a bunch of money to do that, because of your circumstances.
Mm-hmm. There's a problem between social circumstances and the DNA altogether, and your free will that doesn't exist.
Right, yeah. Which is also seen in the British aristocracy traditionally, because they were so inbred.
Right.
They were actually a bit... right? Mm-hmm. Which is why you have the crazy ideas of the crazy lords, the kings and queens who were actually inbred, didn't really know what was going on. We had it with George IV.
There's a French queen called something crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's all of this idea, you see, it's just because you're in a social status. No. I mean, there's one of the things that King Charles in England, academically, not so hot. But he's in the position, he's doing the job. God bless you, Your Majesty, and you know.
Hope so.
God save the king. If you
think about like the free will, don't you think that I was thinking about that? It's a little bit that is a little bit sad if we don't have free will, but it's nice that we feel that we have free will.
Right. But it's tricking us into it.
But it's nice. Otherwise, we would be a little bit.
Absolutely, it's like Cypher back in the Matrix, who wants to go back into the Matrix.
Okay.
And he says the real world is rubbish. He knows. He says, I know that this is not steak. It's just a bunch of stimuli going to my brain. Believe me. But I tell you what, ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of the idea. When we talk about free will, let's just say, I'll go back to this. How did you choose that blue T-shirt today?
Yeah, because I generally choose polo shirts to go to work, and because I want to, or because it's not because I want to.
Acceptable?
It's socially acceptable.
Could you have chosen not to wear a shirt?
No. Or like
really?
No, maybe not. I could have chosen to not to wear a shirt here, for example. No.
Why not?
Well, I could have chosen that, but I could have done that. To choose is different from doing, right?
Well, yes, because choosing leads to doing.
Yeah, but then I choose not to. I choose to come with no shirt here, shirtless.
Okay. What's the problem?
Would you be okay? Would you feel okay? You would.
Yeah.
People would feel okay around here.
So you're saying because of social pressure.
There you go.
You wouldn't choose not to wear. Okay, so you're going to put on a top. Let's say you're going to put on a spangly bra with really pink and golden,
yeah, shiny,
and all of these things. It's closed. You're covering up exactly the same parts of your body is covered. Would you have chosen to do that?
I wouldn't, because it's not the way I like it.
Now that's an interesting one.
Okay.
What do you mean by it's not what you like?
Yeah, it doesn't. I never wore that. I mean, I dress generally like this.
If you wore that, what do you think your wife would say?
She would be impressed.
But that's a Brazilian.
In a bad way.
But so in Brazil, you say impressed means shocked.
Shocked. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
So she would be shocked.
No, yeah, shocked.
Okay. Would she be actually pleased and happy and proud of you?
And impressed as well.
Would she be impressed? English.
Would, yeah. And no.
Okay.
She would.
Question, because I'm going to go on to Richard Dawkins. Would she be turned on?
No.
Okay.
That's
she
for sure.
would be turned off.
Yeah.
So the getting onto a biological side, she would be turned off. So the likelihood of you having a successful evening with your wife from 10 to 0 would be...
Wearing that?
Yes.
0.
Right, minus 10.
Minus 10.
Fantastic. And you see, this is what Dawkins is saying about the selfish gene. Your DNA wants to travel from point A to point B, and it wants to do it in the most successful way. So it's driving your body, making you feel that you have choices, and it's tricking you, but actually you don't. You have a biological intelligence inside you driving you in order to get to point B. And point B is to pass on your DNA to the next generation and to ensure the success, which is why we will live 30, 40, 50 years. And now with modern health, 90. Mm-hmm. But it's moving us on. But all of this, you see, is just algorithms. And one of the things about artificial intelligence is once we start learning psychologically, sociologically, philosophically, all of our group algorithms, then we can actually put that into a series of 1 and 0s into an artificial electronic machine run on battery power and silicon sand. And it can make the same decisions because all we need to do is program it. And it's only really about how far we program it and allow it to now program itself, which is what artificial intelligence is doing. And then
it can be very close to what humans do.
Well,
right?
we've seen where people have put in some 6, 7, 8 buzzwords, asked the artificial intelligence to create a story with an emotional response, and they're doing it. Mm-hmm. An emotional response that we actually recognize and respond to.
And what's the point of that? I mean, like, why do we need that? You know, why do we need artificial intelligence to do that for us?
There's a wonderful line in Jurassic Park that says, and it was from the paleontologist who said, we were so busy wondering if we could that we didn't stop to ask if we should.
That's exactly.
There's a wonderful line that Paul writes in the Bible that says, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing. Where do we draw the line in between what is beneficial and what is permissible? And actually, do we need government to step in to control what the science is doing?
Do we need government to rule that?
To determine
that. I think, yeah, the government, they will continue ruling this as part of the society, I think, because even with the artificial intelligence coming into our lives, in the maybe like in this, for a short time, we are still going to do the same things that we have been doing, changing the jobs with artificial intelligence and everything. But still, the government will be there for that. And if there is no government, you mean maybe the government could be an artificial intelligence?
That's a wonderful thing. that we don't need politicians
yes,
anymore.
that we don't need politicians anymore.
Because actually, if we program in what is beneficial, but what if the robots then decide that what is beneficial for us, bit like the selfish gene, is actually more beneficial to the robots, and we end up in a Terminator situation where humanity is wiped out.
Exactly, and they are going to control us because they're going to be more intelligent than us.
And are we actually in danger of handing over the keys to the kingdom?
Do we want that? I don't think we want that.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If I go back, your car has the ability to artificially take control from you.
Yes.
Do you want that?
I don't want that now.
So what do you do?
Because I like driving.
Right.
Okay. But
there's a button to switch it on and off.
Yes, there is.
And do you switch it on?
I never switch on. I just do what I want. No, but my car doesn't drive by itself. It just like stay on the lane, you know, like
right.
But there are cars like Tesla's one that goes like this. But at the same time,
if you think about it, with politicians and movie stars and people with wealth, they pay for a chauffeur to drive the car, and they sit in the back drinking champagne and screwing up the world for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do.
But here's the thing. So what actual difference when it comes to car, if we just get rid of the chauffeur and remove the biological intelligence with an artificial intelligence, surely that leaves us more free
to do whatever we want.
Let's
go back a little bit. In Brazil, there was... I don't know exactly until when, but maybe I would say until 1995, or maybe a little bit less. There were inside the buses, the buses of the city, that you go. It's called cobrador. So you go there and buy and pay for the guy, and then you could enter the bus. And then suddenly, after 1 year, like these guys, we don't have that anymore because you could pay with a card. So you just go beep, and then that's it. So there was no job for these guys anymore. So they have to be relocated. Yeah, for the chauffeurs or the drivers would be the same probably, or for the pilots of the planes, you know, they would have to be relocated.
Right.
Would you fly in an airplane with absolutely no one that could fly you now?
Yeah.
In 2023.
No, I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I think there's something about humanity that is extra special. Is that people like people. In general, let's say. The majority of us like people and we trust in people. Yeah. Very interesting experiments were on the banality of evil. And they wanted to know, how was it that everyday people turned into war criminals in World War II, in Nazi Germany? Mm-hmm. And it was basically the banality of evil. And the Milgram experiment showed that when you defer responsibility to someone in a white coat or a jacket because that person is telling me to do it, then it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think as a people, we like a deferred responsibility to a human being. We like that. It gives us a security.
We here now, 2023.
Yes.
2150. I don't think they're going to have the same kind of ideas, you know.
Well, I don't know. Perhaps if we have a biological revolution on this, but I don't know. What I know about this is that the person in the responsibility may have changed over time. So, an example, we might have deferred responsibility to the village chief, or deferred it to the shaman, the religious leader, the person in the dog collar and the black shirt. We defer it. Although we can take it on, we still need to defer, and we like to defer. So what I want to say about with a pilot is, as a human being, I would not feel comfortable because I don't know who the responsibility is deferring to. So if they wish to fly the plane on automatic pilot, No problem at all.
There might be a person on land, on the land, like following your plane, and then they can do it.
This is a fantastic thing, because now with rocket strikes and war, these are happening in the United States desert, and people are going out to the desert and operating. They're not even there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's still a person who is, and before any order is taken, there is a chain of command to which there is a deferment and a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
I need to know if it goes wrong, who was responsible. If you say, well, it was the programming, wasn't it? Or, no, I think as a human, I really believe as human beings that we need that. And without that, this is the thing that COVID has shown us. In the result, one of the results in COVID, especially in England and looking at schools, is that attainment has gone down. The kids were still getting lessons. They were at home. They were online, but they did not have the human contact. And it's caused social problems, aggression, behavior issues.
But this is now. Maybe in the future, this won't happen anymore. Maybe our DNA will grow, and we'll say to the next generation that no, you can stay home. You can learn in your house, and you don't need human interaction.
It could be. I mean, if we get back to our biological programming, which we if we say that it evolves over tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. So if the technology is leapfrogging, we can't catch up.
No, we can't
with it.
No, it's too and also it's faster now, right? All the technology advance has been much faster than before. So like we've done like 10 years in 50 years in 10 years of development. Probably now it's going to be like 3 years, as if it was 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be like really fast.
Yes.
And how we have to be like aware of how to be at the same pace.
Yes, and conscious about it.
And conscious about it,
Don't just sleepwalk into it.
Exactly.
I mean, you're absolutely right. If we think about the pace of technology in the last 100 years compared to the last 1,000 of years, it has gone exponentially. Perhaps it's a problem that we leave to our grandchildren.
Yes.
And actually, the best thing that we can do now is drink to the absolute collapse of humanity and society as we know it. And if the robot overlords do take over, just remember, I'm on your side and I know where the plug is.
Yeah. And they can't drink wine as well. The robots, they can't drink wine. They can make wine.
They can make wine.
For who? This is another point. The AI will do things for who? For themselves?
Well, that is the actual key to it.
Yes.
That is the end of the world, because when you have robots remaking robots.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's the
Do you
thing.
think teachers can be replaced? Or education, how do you think it? Well, they can help us, right? I mean, AI can help us a lot. Or it has been helping a lot.
I think one of the lovely things is this, and this is where we can wrap everything up. Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park, and I don't remember if it was in Jurassic Park or in another book, he actually stated that 10,000 years ago, humans lived in tribes, and they sat together, they talked together, they looked at the stars, they looked around, they actually were part of the environment. And in this one, he stated that in order to survive a week, we needed to put in maybe 20 hours of work. And the rest of the time was tribal and community. If we can use AI to get rid of the hard stuff and leave us free to actually sit around and talk and discuss and do exactly what we've just done today.
Yes.
Perhaps we are surfing the tsunami of AI right now. Me and you,
Yes.
we're the ones. We're surviving.
I think
we
so.
are Noah, and
Yeah.
we're building our ark.
Well, I hope so.
And that's it. And why do I think there's a future for education? Because I hope, especially in these times where there seems to be a lack of education and are more reliant on letting others think for us and tell us what to think rather than thinking for ourselves, which is what these guys did 2,500, 3,000 years ago. They were teaching you how to think for yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe we can let our AI get on with just the nonsense of the day, like the washing machine of the future.
For example.
And we can give ourselves more time just to think for ourselves and educate and be more human.
And also like the development of the things are going so fast, then suddenly we say like, no, look, we have to go back a little bit. And then we start doing things that we should be doing or we were doing before. And then we go.
Exactly. And perhaps one day it will be written in chisels on our pyramid walls for the next 10,000 years of generations to have a look at.
Yeah.
And today could be the day where we start the change and up the revolution. And here's to that.
Cheers. Yes. Very nice.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that as much as we have. Yes?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation again. It was really nice talk. I enjoyed a lot the wine and the conversation was great. Thank you very much, Steve.
E obrigado também pelo Canal de Piracicaba por essa oportunidade. Foi bem legal.
Muito bom.
And also, remember, click on that like and subscribe, and please leave comments about it. I mean, we don't really know what we're saying in the end.
Any comments you can say.
Who does? But here's to everyone. Bye-bye.